So since Tesla's Optimus Generation 2 just came out, I made this video to show you how crazy this is and why Tesla Optimus 2 is really the future of AI. There are also a few things in the field of robotics that you should see if you're a fan of Tesla, especially in the robotics field. So let's look at this trailer. I'll break it down and then I'll show you some facts you probably didn't know about the Tesla Optimus trailer. One of the first things many people didn't notice was that the last time we saw the Tesla Optimus got a lot of criticism before. One reason was that it was holding itself up with a cable to a wall, but with the Tesla Optimus Generation 2, this robot is completely, say, autonomous in the sense that it walks without any kind of guided string. Many times when we see robots in development, they are held up. For example, in the back right here, you can see that this is usually what happens when robots are in development. Also, you should know that humanoid robots are very expensive. Some of the robots we'll be looking at in this video cost more than a computer or a phone. They cost a lot of money, which is one reason they don't want to break them. But if they can show us that these robots can work without any help, then progress is definitely further than we thought. What was also very interesting was the improved balance and full body control that we talked about earlier. Many people miss two things about this faster hands. The first is that this isn't usually sped up. I've seen this a lot because I've read a lot of research papers. The demos we have are very slow. For example, Google's Palm, robot was very slow because they programmed it to use Palm language and then made it do some things using its big language model. I think it looks really slow, but this one, which is the one I was talking about before, shows us that it is really slow in real time. Very fast. I don't think I've seen a robot that fast yet, and I'm going to show you some of the other robots we have. Now, I hope this isn't too disturbing, but this is VR teleop mode, and I'm going to show you some clips of it because most people don't know what it is. And basically, VR teleop is when you can move robots really quickly, and basically, a VR headset like a AR MetaQuest headset basically, and with that VR MetaQuest headset, you can control the robot. This is something that is done all the time in robotics because it's easier to get the robot to move in the way that you want it to. I hope Tesla comes out and says that that isn't VR up, and if it isn't, which it probably isn't, then that means that is really crazy because it shows how advanced these guys are in terms of how fast they can move the robot and how dexterous they are. As I said, if you watch any other robot demos, you'll see that it's sped up 2 or 3 times. So if it's not sped up, it's definitely going to have a really nice amount of how it's going. People have said that a lot of these robots walk really slowly. If we can just get robots to walk around as much or as fast as humans, that will be something we can actually use. And that will be really useful. We won't be able to use slow walking robots that are less inefficient than humans just yet, but that will work really well if we can get these things to move really quickly. Another important thing we talked about was delicate object manipulation. I think people need to understand that while other robots have done this, and I'm going to show you some clips of them doing it, because I have a lot of robots to show you, this is the first time that this has been done by a humanoid. As an example, this Sanctuary Eye robot is picking up some stuff, but you can see that this is actually an egg. And of course with this robot right here. No offense to the Tank Show AI team. I do think that Tesla's robot is pretty good because it's very hard to handle and place an egg in the right place. If you're wondering what I'm comparing this to, this is it. Another company is also working on Sanctuary Eye's robot, which is basically a humanoid robot. But of course Tesla's ability to handle an egg with this much, well, hair and gentleness is something that shouldn't be taken for granted. Also, what people didn't realize was that it was put in just the right spot, which shows that what we have here from Tesla is quite impressive. It's not that this is the first time we've seen something like this. What's crazy is that it's being made so quickly. For example, we just saw Tesla Generation 1 a couple of months ago, and now we're seeing Tesla Generation 2. That other companies are also in on this is crazy. I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago that another company released something that looks eerily similar to what Tesla released. I don't know if they have the same engineering, research, design, AI and other departments, but Tesla is a crazy company with crazy minds. But the Kepler company released a robot that looks a lot like the Tesla Optimus. This has caused some debate online about how crazy humanoid robots will be in the future, because when multiple companies are racing to make their own version of a humanoid robot, we can see that this is going to be interesting. Of course, you can see that the walking isn't perfect. Well, it's not as good. It does show how crazy and useful some of these robots can be. But what I also want to show you guys are some of the other robots that are being worked on because Tesla Optimus. One last thing I want to say. It doesn't really matter, but I think the futuristic design of the Tesla robot is the best I've ever seen. I want to give credit to the design team because if they can make the design look really sleek and modern, that's a plus, and of course if it looks better, it works better. Of course, we're not going to could talk about a robot video without mentioning Boston Dynamics. But the important thing is that I think this Tesla bot Optimus is a totally different robot from the Boston Dynamics Atlas. The Atlas has been in development for a long time and is one of the most advanced robots in the world, though I wouldn't call it a humanoid. What you need to know about Atlas doesn't have hands and fingers, and I'm sure that the way it sees the world will be different. The Tesla bot is different in terms of what it can do, so I think Atlas is still good. One thing we're not sure of is when it will be used in factories on a large scale. This is really cool, and it does look really good. A lot of the time, what you don't realize is that these are just demos. If you go to Boston Dynamics' real page, you'll see that they have to run this simulation over and over again to get it to work right because the robot does fail. So this isn't something that's 100 done, even though it is good. The robot makes a lot of mistakes, so there is still a lot of work to be done since it's hardware and not software. Now, I'd like to show you another company called Unri and how far they've come with their humanoid robot. They can now kick it and it will stand up, which is pretty impressive. Of course, this one doesn't have hands or anything, but you get the idea. The whole figure, I think this robot is pretty cool because it's a lot cheaper. These are the kinds of robots that we might see in some towns and areas because they're cheap and can do a lot of different tasks. I don't know what they'll be doing, but I'm sure it will be a really cool experience. Interesting future. Now you should definitely see this because it's basically going to be the future of LMs. It's kind of future cell interaction with these robots. So I'm going to show you this short video so you can see exactly how these big language models, which are currently taking over the internet as agents or physical agents, will interact with the world. With all the excitement surrounding big language models, I'm going to make my command and make it interesting based on the context of its big language model, which includes pop culture references. As you can see, Digi has identified that Darth Vader's lightsaber is red and that there is a red box nearby. This is so cool because the next step in large language models and robotics is for robots to have their own thoughts that will help them decide what. Having this robot, think, and it uses an LMS to think Darth Saber's lightsabers red, and then it picks up the red box and uses its own engine to figure out which one is the tallest, putting it there. This is definitely the future, and this article basically shows Google's deep. Sister says that Gemini is a new. If you don't know, this is Google's DeepMind, the same company that made AlphaFold, AlphaCode, and of course AlphaGo. They also recently made Gemini Pro and Gemini Ultra. They talked about how to become truly multimodal, you'd want to include touch and tactile feedback. There's a lot of potential in applying these kinds of foundational models to robotics, and we're looking into that. Of course, it talks about how, and Google has already taken small steps in this direction. In May 2022, the company announced an AI model called G that could learn to do many things, such as playing Atari games, captioning images, and using a robotic arm to stack. They also showed off a project called RT2, which used big language models to help robots understand and do things, which is why things like this and Tesla's bot are going to be so important. I think this is just the start, and now it's getting real attention and investment from a lot of people who know how much this stuff can really change the world. Hopefully there will be more breakthroughs in the future that make this a reality.